understand a little bit more about what it is that the work of destinations is actually focused on, because I think we haven't heard too much from the destination perspective here. So perhaps, Anis, you want to kick off by telling us a little bit more about your role and how these two elements come together.
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for having me here today. As said, I'm from Visit Finland, and we, of course, have a role of promoting and marketing our beautiful destination of Finland and building demand and preference to Finland. But then also, probably not as all the NTOs have a role of building loads of tools for Finnish DMOs and travel companies when it comes to digitalization, sustainable development, and data management. So we have a big role in supporting the Finnish travel industry in these matters.
Now we're going to jump into what that looks like on a day-to-day basis and what some of the challenges you're facing are in just a few moments. But Thomas, tell us how your role looks at Visit Stockholm.
I'm a chief of staff, and I'm also head of the department for analysis and strategies for the destination of Stockholm. So we work with digitalization as a really important tool to empower the destination into more sustainable development, and also using the digitalization as also to part of the marketing of Stockholm and the destination of Stockholm, together with all the actors in Stockholm. That's a huge shift in the role of the destination organizations. We are going from marketing organizations to management organizations, and we are trying to empower the destinations to improve and attract more people, both talents and also visitors. That's a new role for Visit Stockholm.
Now let's kick off by starting a little bit with digitalization and technology. How do these two elements come together for both of you when we think about sustainability and the wider transformational aims that we're trying to put in place at a destination level?
Well, our strategic focus in supporting the travel industry, one of the key elements is digitalization, obviously. And I've been yesterday involved in loads of discussion with technology companies and airlines here, and us, as we work very closely with the DMOs and travel companies, the reality is a bit different than in the big technology companies. So we're still very much focusing on pushing the travel companies toward their digital path. Because some companies still, there's loads of small companies in Finland, family-owned, they don't have the corporation structure, so they truly need support in even getting their own digital channels going, building their digital sales strategies, etc. So it seemed, or it sounds quite obvious, but it's not. They still need a lot of support in these matters. And as working closely with them, you see their reality. Their competence as focus is producing fantastic travel experiences, as it should be. But now there's a lot of pressure for the travel companies to have loads of more competence as well when it comes to technology, digital, sustainable development, utilizing data. That's a lot. And especially after coming out of a pandemic, all the focus should be in growth and recovery. So that's why us in Visit Finland and our DMOs have an important role in supporting the travel companies in these matters.
Now, Thomas, I know Visit Stockholm has been on a journey of transformation. So tell us a little bit about how that looks for you. And I guess you mentioned about your shift towards being more management-focused. What does that actually mean when we think about how you support the businesses through this transitionary period?
We start during the pandemic. We had a huge effect by the pandemic as the rest of destinations around the world and the whole tourist sector, of course. But in Stockholm and in Sweden, you know, we didn't have a lockdown as in the rest of Europe had. So we did still have services, but it was much lower level, and quite many resources were free at that time. And we used those resources in the companies and educated them into digitalization and to use digitalization as a tool, as a power, as a tool to market and also to develop their businesses. At the same time, we also had focus groups on sustainability and educate the staff and resources in the companies in sustainability and how to use that in their development. So that was one way of using the digitalization and also using the pandemic and the resources that we had. On the other hand, what we saw also before the pandemic already was that we saw it was fewer and fewer people that visited our physical tourist service and tourist center in Stockholm. At the same time, we saw a huge number incline in the number of visitors to Stockholm, and we saw that there was a shift also in how they used the information, when they used the information, and what they wanted to know. They wanted to know more about how to be a local, how to live like a local. So what we did actually prior to the pandemic was to close down the physical tourist service center in Stockholm and digitalize that. And we used our staff to go into social media channels and to answer questions there, and also to use the staff to empower people to visit Stockholm and also when they are in Stockholm, answer their questions by phone and social medias. And at the same time, we saw that all the tourists still want to meet the persons and talk to local people. So what do? Well, they turn to the front desk staff at the hotels. So use those front desks and they educated them and gave them tools and then also education and also continuous information what's happening in Stockholm. So we have digitalized all the tourist service now, and we have moved it out to where the tourists are and also into their tourist cycle when they need that and what they need at the right time. So we have used that in the digitalization that way.
So some pretty radical choices have been taken there. And how does this shift your role from, say, before the pandemic, where I think many of us were focused on growth? There had been a change in the kind of dynamics, a focus on getting the right kind of visitor and trying to address some of the issues, especially related to sustainability when we think about the social economic aspect of that, to today.
Yeah, we don't want to attract everyone to Stockholm. We want to attract the right people to Stockholm, and we want them to be like a local, be a Stockholmer. So that's a key shift in the way of marketing also Stockholm, and then using our marketing tools to attract right people at the right time.
Now, Anis, we understand that your role is slightly different to maybe some of the national tourism organizations, as you also focus on development, and you've made some quite significant investments in the digital infrastructure that also supports that development process. How do you balance the kind of the everyday needs of businesses? You talked about many small businesses with everyday challenges, and we often talk about digital maturity and the need to kind of push them through that digital maturity process against the kind of opportunity to adopt a more holistic, visionary approach to leading the destination.
Sure, we have developed a lot of tools, especially now during the pandemic, because we have not doing the promotional work as much. So the focus has definitely been more in the support function. Just to mention a few, we have built the Visit Finland Data Hub, which is a digital database for all our tourism products content. So that all is now available through our API. Just a little pitch as well to everybody. If you are interested in Finnish travel products, it's available through API. So that's something that definitely helps the companies to distribute their marketing content through our API. So, for instance, these sort of stuff. And then when it comes to sustainability, we have launched actually 4 years ago a program for the DMOs and travel companies, Sustainable Travel Finland. It's not a certificate, it's a program for the companies to provide them tools and education, CO2 calculator, different indicators, for sustainable development. So these sort of tools that we are providing the companies that they can utilize in every day. But then also developing more, to mention one, seasonality, which we've been discussing earlier as well. Finland's probably one of the best-known destinations, Lapland for sure. It's a very well-known winter destination for Arctic wilderness and extreme darkness and coldness and Santa Claus and sauna and northern lights and all this. I think you all know and hopefully even visited the winter Lapland. But the challenge there is that it's pretty much fully booked for that winter season. And now we are helping as Visit Finland and the whole Lapland region to open a new season, the summer season for Lapland. And that for sure is a mutual effort. It's a regional effort, it's a public and private effort to make this happen, to open a new season for the destination.
Well, it's great to hear about this kind of leadership role that you kind of take on in order to create the right digital infrastructure that can help those businesses both digitize their content and their assets, but also distribute those, and opening that up through APIs is really key there. I think as you rightly kind of framed it, everybody can associate Lapland as a winter destination, the Northern Lights and everything you said. So how do we shift these perceptions, and how does digitalization help us to address that, to create a more sustainable year-round destination? Where do you see the opportunities to leverage technology and digital digital skills?
Well, we've been discussing this, and maybe it says something about us as Finnish people, that we've been able to brand and sell and attract people to the extreme coldness and darkness, when we do have the eternal light on the summertime and the midnight sun, and the beautiful nature is still there. So maybe it's just us Nordic people that embrace the winter so much, but summer is as well very beautiful. So as said, it's definitely a huge effort to open and build that in another season.
And Thomas, you've made some big decisions, closing down that visitor information center and investing in the skills and capabilities of the industry, and putting a lot of efforts into that online space. How do you see, as you adopt an even stronger role in terms of management, how do you see digital and technology helping to also address some of these issues? We were speaking earlier about the beautiful archipelago. I associate it as something really, really magnificent in the summer. But like the Finns, I think the Swedes also like to go out and enjoy the winter.
Absolutely, we do, and the light in Stockholm right now, it's so beautiful, so you have to come to Stockholm and explore the summer nights, of course. But digitalization and digital transformation with the companies, and how to enforce new skills and also new seasons. Well, I think it's also perception in the companies, that we do have to switch perception in the companies and how to use those. It's old habits. We are still in old habits when it comes to seasons in Stockholm. You close in August to go on a vacation, and then you open up in September, and you don't realize that in whole August you have the whole southern parts of Europe wanted to come to Stockholm. We are using the digitalization to push forward information, and also to make it easier for the companies to develop new products. And you have to add skills and also knowledge about the target groups. And we are quite heavily investing right now in data and analysis to explore and know more about the visitors to Stockholm, and what their habits and what they want to do and what they want to know, and use that also as a ground for the further discussions with the companies when the visitors are here, and then how to utilize that instead of going on a holiday.
I'm very glad that you picked up on the data aspect, because I think of all my conversations with destinations, data is definitely something that most DMOs are really, really keen to identify the opportunities and also really leverage that. We see a lot of business intelligence dashboards popping up here, there, and everywhere. Sometimes very good use cases set out, and sometimes not so clear. where do you really see the opportunity for the industry in Stockholm to be competitive by leveraging the potential of data?
It's when we are going to use it to look forward. We do have a problem with data right now. It's that it's only looking backwards, and then it's also a problem when we have 8 of 10 companies is smaller medium enterprises, and they don't have the time, they don't have the resources to analyze all the data and take actions out of that. So we have to do that on a common level in Stockholm as a destination, and that's when the data is going to be useful for us, and also when we are looking forward. So that's some of the tools we are looking into right now. It's really important for us.
So being able to put out forecasts, have a better level of predictability, work on a more towards the real-time aspect of data.
But there's also there's a difficulty there, because as a destination marketing or management organization, we don't have the mandate, or we don't have the resources to do any actions when we see real-time data showing that something is happening. Take a crowded place in Stockholm. If there are too much people there, we can't do anything about that. It's the people and the events that are happening there it's owning the problem there. So it's also who's has the mandate and who has the probability to do something when there occurs a problem.
And this is where the issue of a really fragmented kind of management of the industry, I think naturally so, makes it really difficult for us to find that kind of really meaningful role that we can play. Because as you say, we might even be able to identify a pattern or a problem or an opportunity, but then the next step is talking to 300-500 businesses. In the case of Finland, I guess thousands of businesses, and helping them to see that and helping them to leverage that. How important has this investment that you've made at Visit Finland in the actual technology to creating a better understanding or more granularity in the visitor journey? Because obviously, you know, we're not, none of us at Disneyland, we don't have the complete ownership of every visitor interaction within the destination. So that must make it really difficult to be able to really achieve that kind of granular understanding, but also influence the behavior when we do see things.
Sure, and we providing these tools for the destinations and travel companies, for sure. And then our role in Visit Finland, we don't own the customer or see the customer journey. That's more in the destinations role. And I know a few destinations in Finland. One in particular, it's a skiing resort who has invested quite heavily in destination technology in order to create outstanding digital customer experience in destinations. So they have a technology and API capabilities, so they can pull different inventory, so the customer can actually in destination in the same application book electric car for their needs and order groceries, book restaurants, book skiing tickets, etc. So that's quite advanced, and they have the means to build their own technology, and for sure not many DMOs or destinations are able to do this and have such a fantastic digital customer experience in destination.
I think you kind of reminded me of one of our favorite case studies at the Digital Tourism Think Tank, which is with Lax. It's a ski resort in Switzerland, and they have a completely connected customer journey because they have a total control over everything that happens in that resort, and they almost manage that as one operation. And I think it's really a good example of the challenges that destinations have, as most destinations simply don't have that luxury. Let's move on a little bit to the need to make the case for investing in technology. How do you continue to demonstrate the needs within your organization at Visit Finland to invest in technology to maintain that competitiveness? Your most recent data project is all about helping the businesses get themselves improve their visibility and their distribution. But how do you continue to demonstrate the need for that and get the buy-in for that?
Well, everything for the companies is for sure like what's in it for me. And at the moment, what needs to be in it for businesses is a benefits, business benefits, growth. Even when it comes to sustainable development, we try to offer use cases and different business benefits for the companies, because that's what they need. Just a tool to help them to be more sustainable is not enough. They come to us and say, what's in it for me then? So there needs to be a business benefit for these companies in everything, like data, digitalization, and sustainability. Everything needs to provide something for the businesses. And at the moment, it needs to be pretty much something that has something to do with sales and growth and recovery.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to lose sight of that. We can often think about these bigger initiatives, these big ideas, these visionary kind of investments that we really want to make happen, but ultimately it does come down to the day-to-day business realities. And I guess that's also the same when we talk about digitalization. We were talking earlier about exploring blockchain, but the reality is quite different for businesses, right? What do you see from Stockholm's perspective about the priorities that you have in front of you?
Well, it's of course, it's the sustainable development of the whole destination. That's a key issue for the whole city of Stockholm, and also the destination of Stockholm and the rest of the world, of course, where we are standing right now. And use digitalization as a part of a tool in that case. And it's also, as that kind of you talked about earlier, also the recovery after the pandemic. It's hit quite hard. Stockholm. It didn't hit as hard as many other destinations, but it hit quite hard in Stockholm also. So we do have to work on that also. And back to the business, it's what's in it for me. It's kroners and euros. It's euros. We do have to get those back, and also have to get the employees back, and then skilled staff back to the tourist industry. And there, I think if we don't manage that, or we could also use digitalization as a way of affecting the way of work. We can't take away all the staff. We need staff there who's confronting and who's meeting the guests.
So when we talk about sustainability, there are many different pillars to that, but the sustainability and the viability of our industry seems to be sitting right at the core of this. If we can't help our businesses to survive, to recruit and to bring in the right talent, or to stay open throughout the year and to make this an attractive industry to be in, then it's going to be hard to address some of the bigger needs. Yesterday we had this really fascinating panel where travelers talked about the need to create standards and to have a baseline set of data that all of the online leaders can have a consistent measurement and approach to sustainability. If we think about the role of DMOs looking into the future, where do you see the biggest priority to help move the whole industry forward towards a more sustainable future, underpinned with a good grasp of technology?
I think it was yesterday in Google's Roundtable where they discussed about the travelers' expectations, and one of the findings there was that the interest towards sustainability is there, and then behavior will follow. And that's sort of what we are thinking as well, like in all our promotional actions and in all this that we do in supporting the industry, is that they need to taking part on the Sustainable Travel Finland program. So that is a necessity as moving forward, and as Google have predicted, then as we are introducing the sustainable destinations, sustainable products, the behavior will follow, and that's definitely what we believe as well. It's accelerating growth when you have more sustainable destinations and products.
Great. So doing that through a kind of transformational program approach. And last word to you, Thomas. What do you see as the role of the destination to help take the industry through this?
Build knowledge about sustainability, and also how to empower that, and then also how sustainability will be the future. It's the sustainable business model is a good business model, and build knowledge about that, and also build the stage where all the actors in the destination can meet each other and have knowledge exchange, and also to explore new things and together build a new destination around the sustainability. I think that will be the role for us as a Visit Stockholm.
So it seems knowledge sits really at the core of this, and it's something we need to continue to invest in. Well, Annakaisa, Thomas, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing those insights. It's been really fascinating to hear those perspectives, and I hope that's been very useful for the audience. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.